Welcome to the lesson number 4. We have previously suggested to download and install two software packages for using SQL language to inspect and extract data from the tables of a database. In this lesson, we are going to see how this software application works. The idea is to show to you the procedure used to access clinical data, but also to teach you what you can do by yourself using the SQL language. Our aim in this lesson is to show how to display clinical data from a database and how to inspect a large clinical dataset. After software installation, we are going to use a test database. Using the SQL Server Management Studio, we are going to open the test clinical database that we name BeWell. As shown in this slide, this is the interface we see opening SQL Server Management Studio. We have already loaded the files of the database BeWell that you can download from the link provided in the platform and load it in SQL Server Management Studio using the Attach menu that you see here in the database folder. The results is shown in the next slide. To see the database organization, we can use the database diagram function that is reported here. We can see graphically how the tables of the database BeWell are linked. Let's now visualize the data of different tables. For this task, we need to use a query to the database, as it is shown in the next slide. The queries for interacting with the database can be performed using the structured query language, or simply SQL. This language consists of several statements. This is a language that is largely used in many clinical database management systems. The function of a query can be obtained using the new query function, as it is shown in the menu here. The first query we can use is the query select. Let's use this query for inspection of data contained in the table patient data. The query must use the instruction select asterisk from patient data. So this is the syntax of the query. The program recognizes the syntax of the query by the blue characters of the word select and from. Using the asterisk, we select all the fields of the table patient data. The result is represented here. We can see that the table and the data are reported only in the first part of the table. The table is much longer than this. Let's see now the content of the table lab test using a new query. The query is now select asterisk from lab test table. This is the result that we obtain. Let's now use the query select to retrieve specific data from the database. We would like to retrieve data of lab test results of a patient that had a laboratory test on a given date. So let's suppose that the patient name we are looking for is Luigi Bianchi, and the table lab test contains data that have been performed on December 13th, 2021. Let's see how we can do this. We can now use the query select to show all the fields in the table patient data that belong to the patient with the surname Bianchi. In order to do this, we can select only data of this patient if we use the following query in the SQL language. The query is of this form. We are using the query select. We want to represent all the data from the table patient data, but on the condition that we only want the data belonging to the patient that has a surname equal Bianchi. As you see, the program recognizes all the instructions by the blue characters and the names of the field with the red character. We specify that the surname must be equal to this sequence of characters that are contained between these two characters. As a result, we see the data of this single patient that are contained in the table patient data. As you can see, the patient ID is equal to. We can now look for the visits of this patient using the patient ID equal to as shown in the next slide. The query I have written is to select from table visits the data related to patient ID equal to and to order the data by date. And this is the structure of the SQL statement. You can see the results in the table below. All visits of the patient with ID equal to are listed here. I highlighted the data of the visits performed on December 13, 2021. We can now read that the visit ID of this visit is equal to 21. At this point, let's retrieve the data of laboratory tests that have been generated by visit ID equal 21. The result is reported in the next slide. Using the query written here, we can select only data for visit ID equal 21. We then obtain as a result the laboratory test values for this patient for the date that we were looking for. This is the set of clinical data that we want to obtain. Thus, we have selected a patient from one table, a visit from another table, and a specific set of data. This can be done very efficiently, even if the database is very large, as we will see in the next lessons. In summary, we have seen how the data are related among different tables, how we can use the structured query language, or SQL, to investigate the data in a relational database. Finally, we have seen how to select data in a table using information about relationships that are present among the data. Before processing to the next lesson, please answer the following questionnaire that you see on the platform and following the results.